Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight I'll be telling you a little bit about my experience reading False Dawn by Chelsea Quinn Yarbro. Uh, the late Chelsea Quinn Yarbro. Unfortunately, she, if you didn't already know, passed away about a month ago. Um, I came across this news. Outlaw bookseller Steve posted something really nice about her about 3 weeks ago or so. Shared a message about his love for her works, and um, it made me want to go read a book by her. And this is the only book I had by her in my collection. I'm sure in this corner of YouTube you've seen this cover probably once or twice. Uh, Really cool, badass cover, and one of her, I would say, better known books. Maybe I'm wrong about that one, but this is a 1978 book club edition. Really beautiful book. Um, just over 200 pages. A novel that is, I would say, post-apocalyptic, um, kind of survival wasteland type of book. Um, Not super out there, pretty realistic content, um, and overall a really good book. Not an easy read by any means. There's some real graphic stuff in this book. I'm gonna put it up here so you can kind of gander at it while I talk. But just to set the scene for this book, we follow a woman named Thea. She's trekking across the wilderness in western United States, around Sacramento area. There's these roving bands of like bandits called pirates that are just kind of looting and uh, killing and doing awful stuff. There's just people who are kind of hiding, trying to survive, kind of like Thea. And there's some creatures kind of roaming around this world as well, but mostly it's just a lot of humans who are just kind of picking over what's left. Um, I am trying to remember if it's very clear on why we're in this post-apocalyptic world, why we're kind of uh, post modernity. Um, there's a lot of scarcity. She's just scrounging for food. It's a dire situation to start the book. She meets a character named Evan who has one arm, and who we find has kind of disavowed and was he left his roving band of pirates who he was the leader of. Um, there's a really graphic section in the first like 30 pages of the book where Thea comes across Evan, and then this man named Lastly, kind of a strange name, Lastly. He I can't say the word, but he violates Thea and does some awful things. He is killed, and they get away. And Evan and Thea kind of make this pact, unspoken pact, to just travel together because they're kind of trauma bonded after this experience. And a lot of this book, I was kind of surprised, deals with not with the wasteland itself, but how in the midst of utter hopelessness in a lot of the circumstances that these two characters experience. We mainly follow Thea, but it's Evan and Thea both. Um, how something like that can still deeply affect you in a like a lot of the book centers around that act is that happens. It's hard to talk about because it's like I'm not going to mention it actually what it is, but what happens to Thea from Lastly, it's a through line throughout this book. And she travels with Evan, who is a male who used to be married, and we find out his backstory. And he kind of grows fond of Thea, but but understands he's a very like he wants to be respectful of her, especially knowing what was done to her. And so we have this kind of just broken character who I, I think that act is kind of the metaphor for this kind of world that's just no matter what you do, it's just taking it upon itself to inflict damage to you. Uh, and it's gosh, it's a moving but very dark book. Not a whole lot of hope in this book. Um, I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself for spoilers, but that's kind of the gist of where you find yourself in the first 30, 40 pages. Excuse me. Um, Wonderful characterization. I feel Thea and Evan are very realistic characters and also very complex. Um, their journey and their arc throughout the story is extremely interesting to watch and to consider in the midst of what they go through. Um, there are there's pretty good world building. It's a lot of just rugged terrain and little villages and that kind of thing. So not a whole lot of world building needs to be done. You can kind of set the scene for yourself, but some cool little things here and there where we have Evan's arm. I think I mentioned it was cut off at least at some point. It regenerates through something. I'm trying to remember exactly how it regenerates, but that's kind of a. I think it's the virus that they have that caused a bunch of this post-apocalyptic stuff. Um, there's like water spiders, which are like the most dangerous animal now. Really poisonous and big spiders that stay around bodies of water. Those kind of wreak havoc a couple times. Dogs, roving bands of dogs, just like the pirates, just kind of wreak havoc. Um, and yeah, it's exactly what you would think of in terms of a wasteland type of book. It gave me kind of I really, if you've ever seen like the first couple seasons of Walking Dead, that kind of just sinking feeling the whole time you're watching it, knowing that it's just like kind of hopeless. That feeling permeates this entire story. Uh, I don't like comparing it to Mad Max too much because it's not that kind of story at all, but it gives that sort of energy off. The world gives that sort of unrelenting energy of like the strong will survive kind of. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I feel like The Walking Dead was a really interesting thought that kept popping up in my head. That's kind of a really close comparison I can make to the vibe of it. Getting into more specifics, this is your spoiler warning. I think the section where they meet five monks and are kind of trapped by them, and they kind of lord over them with their religious dogma and just overbearing sense of entitlement and justice to their religion is a little heavy-handed. Um, I think she paints the monks in a very ugly light that it's kind of clear maybe uh, I don't know the intent behind that was to kind of I don't know just kind of a nasty section where it just feels like religious figures in general were painted in a negative light. Um, Heavy-handed is the word that I would use, just because it wasn't distasteful, but I just felt like that section is it was just an ugly section to read because nothing good happens out of it. It's these what should be helpful monks who are practically torturing these two, Evan and Thea, and out of in the name of I don't know, like uh, in the name of recognition to their god. I say their god because it's just like it's almost it's evil what they're doing. It's not good. So that was a hard section to get through. Uh, the kind of climax of the book ends with the section on in this watchtower where the pirates kind of converge on them. They start blowing up the legs of this tower, and Thea and Evan try to shoot their way out, and they're setting fire to the area around them, trying to drive them back. And there's this really cool action scene Uh, but Thea gets shot. Evan kind of gets grazed by a bullet, and they barely make it out. And I don't know if I love the fact that we think Thea dies at the very end, and she doesn't. Uh, Part of me wonders if it would have, how the book would have really resonated with me if Thea had passed from that bullet wound, and then we kind of get to see Evan's sort of maybe survivor's guilt. But that really would have been a real awful, sad way to end this, because the ending as it is minimal has minimal hope, as Evan and Thea kind of, it's interesting. Thea like uh, leaves Evan, sort of trying to be brave, wanting Evan to survive. So she leaves, intending for him to be able to survive on his own with the food that they've found in this place. And Evan catches back up to her and is like, "We go together now, you know." And I did feel like there was some positive ending to this. And if Thea would have passed, it would have completely demolished that. And we would have just seen Evan walk into the wilderness completely alone and hopeless. So that's probably good. Um, I wanted to read one section that I found really interesting in this version. It's about page 160. To give context, they are they're kind of reminiscing on why their world has descended into this apocalypse of sorts, and what happened, what they can remember about like the life before this one. So they're, yeah, Evan spent some time in Europe. He says, at London in '98, when the cholera broke out, when everybody died there, the bodies got as thick as it stank. London did. He took another mouthful of the brandy and let his face sag. It was such a great city. The sickness got it, destroyed the people. She moved a little closer to him. Evan, why haven't. But he interrupted her. It was a waste. His voice was harsh. A whole city died because too many damn people lived there. They all wanted things: another car, television, wash after one wearing clothes, freezers full of food. Everyone wanted that. He stopped long enough to finish the brandy in the glass and pour more. It wasn't their fault, though. It wasn't. No one told them the truth. No, not the truth. Truth, he wagged his finger at her, doesn't win elections or sell papers. Truth isn't popular. So they died. Suddenly he stopped. So we're like Goths, living in the ruins. The Dark Ages come again. I found that section to be really moving because I feel the timeliness of that, as you probably do too. Um, the mention of elections and truth, and people wanting things, and just the me, the consumerism, really, really sinking in that section, that passage. And so, I don't know. I felt like uh, beyond just the story itself, there was some real deeper themes going on, and some prescient thoughts I think that Yarbrough had in this, seeing kind of some things probably back in the '70s when she was writing this. And I just found that really moving. Um, there's several other passages in here where, Evan recollects about listening to music and his father being a composer, cooking. He reads a cookbook at one point, and Thea kind of wonders why he does this. And I think it's that sort of tie to nostalgia that we have. And that was another theme that I found really interesting in this book. Is obviously in an apocalypse, you don't have a lot of those things that you take for granted, that we take for granted, such as cooking, music, that sort of thing. And that's something that I feel like she didn't. Yarbrough really did a great job of making that feel very real, and um, not like I was reading it, if that makes sense. Like it felt like I could empathize and really feel what the characters were feeling. They didn't have music anymore, and they're listening to these records. Like Thea's wondering for the first time what this is. She's like hasn't heard music in like 20 years. And I think it's hard for us unless a good writer brings us into that world and into those moments to really feel that. And so I have high praise for Yarbrough in this book because she takes some really big risks with the scene that starts the book, really, and how that kind of sets the stage for the rest of Thea's journey. That is not easy to read, and that was uncomfortable at best when it would pop up and when Thea would have these kind of like revulsions and physical like uh, reactions to just even Evan like just like touching her on the arm or something. Like it was disturbing to watch the after effects and hear how Yarbrough described that. So there's a whole lot of darkness in this book that I feel like really captures what it would be like if this were to take place, if a virus were to happen and the whole world kind of would collapse on itself. We look years later at what is left, and there's just a real great bobbing and weaving, meandering through this world. Meandering is not the right word because that sounds really casual, but um, she really rides the wave of you really sink into some dark sections, then you come up for some air and a couple that really give you a taste of like maybe there is a little bit of hope in this world that's really dark. And I think I took that to kind of give me some glass half full energy in our world right now with everything going on. So I hope you do too. Uh, I I really liked this book, and I'd like to read more of Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough. If you have any other recommendations for her books, let me know. I hope you go and read a book of hers, maybe this one. Um, Knowing that she has recently passed, I feel like it's a time to celebrate her works and all of the great things she did for the literary community. Um, and so, yeah, uh, educate me, help me learn more about her. I was moved by this book, and I thought it was really good. Um, and I'm glad I spent the time to just kind of stop what I was doing and be led by that sad news to read this. So, anyway, all that to say that I appreciate you watching. This one was really cool to be able to make recently, and to just engage with this book at this time. So um, I'll stop it there. I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope you're well, and yeah, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Appreciate you.